When my best friend walked into the café holding my ex's hand, I thought it was some kind of cruel joke. But the smile she gave me, that told me everything. It's strange how a single second can change everything you believe about loyalty. One moment, you're sipping your coffee, scrolling through your phone, and the next, your entire history rewrites itself in front of your eyes. I just froze. Mark, my best friend since college, and Claire, the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with, stood there like they'd rehearsed it. Her hand looped around his arm, his thumb brushing her knuckles, casual, intimate. They didn't even look guilty. Mark smiled, that same stupid half-smile he used when he'd show up late to class. "Ethan, man. Long time," he said, like nothing had happened. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Claire's eyes met mine, and that's when I knew this wasn't some awkward coincidence. It was planned. The tilt of her chin. The faint smirk at the corner of her lips. She wanted me to see it. "I didn't know you too," I started, but the words wouldn't come out. Mark jumped in too fast. "Yeah, it just kinda happened," he said with that careless laugh, like falling for your best friend's ex-wife was some cute accident. Claire stayed quiet, just sipping her latte like it was the most normal thing in the world. I excused myself before I said something I'd regret. The air outside was freezing, but my hands were shaking from something else, betrayal. Not the kind that screams, the kind that sits deep inside your chest, twisting. Mark and I had been through everything together. He was the one who helped me move out when Claire and I divorced. He was the one who told me, "You'll find someone better, bro." I didn't know he meant her. For weeks after that, I tried to pretend it didn't matter. But in a small town, secrets have short legs. Soon everyone knew, Mark and Claire are together. Some said they looked happy. Some whispered that maybe they'd been seeing each other even before the divorce. I never asked. I didn't want to know. I focused on work. Painting houses by day, sketching by night, it was the only thing that quieted my head. But no matter how far I tried to run from it, betrayal has a way of echoing. You hear it when you're alone, when you least expect it. 6 months later, just as the pain was beginning to fade, I got a letter in the mail. A thick envelope. Legal seal. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But as I read, the words hit me like punches. This notice is to inform you that a claim for child support has been filed by Claire Reynolds, represented by her spouse, Mark Reynolds. I stared at the paper in disbelief. Child support? For what child? We never had kids. Claire and I tried once, years ago, but it never happened. Now she was claiming I abandoned financial responsibility for a dependent child. It didn't make sense. I called her, she didn't answer. I called Mark, straight to voicemail. Days later, I got an email from some attorney in the city. All communication must go through legal counsel. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I just sat there, staring at the ceiling, wondering what kind of twisted revenge this was. When I finally met with my lawyer, she looked at me like she'd seen it all before. "These cases happen," she said. "Sometimes, people just want to make someone else's life miserable." She was right. We filed a response, demanded proof. That's when things got darker. They claimed the child had been conceived during the marriage, but no birth certificate, no medical records, no photos, nothing. Just accusations. Weeks turned into months. And in that time, something inside me hardened. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry, not at them, but at myself, for ever trusting either of them. One night, around 2 a.m., I got an email, an anonymous message from someone who claimed to know the truth about Mark and Claire. Attached were screenshots. Dozens of them. Emails. Messages. Plans. He thinks he can just walk away? Let's see how he likes being dragged through court. Once the case starts, he'll break. He always does. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about a child. It was about revenge. That was the night I decided, no more silence. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. Not out of hatred, but out of principle. Because sometimes, walking away isn't strength, it's surrender. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "We're taking this all the way," I said. And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt since before all this began: control. The morning of the hearing, the city felt colder than usual, like the air itself was holding its breath. I arrived early, carrying the folder of evidence that had taken me weeks to organize: emails, messages, screenshots, old photos, everything that proved the claim against me was fabricated. Mark and Claire were already there. They sat together, side by side, their smiles gone. Claire's eyes avoided mine, darting nervously around the room. Mark, who had always seemed untouchable, now looked small. The judge entered. Silence fell immediately. Mark's lawyer started first, his tone smooth, confident, rehearsed. He painted me as the irresponsible ex, a man who had abandoned a moral duty, failed to support a child, betrayed the mother. Every word felt like nails on a chalkboard, but I stayed calm. Then it was my turn. Russell, my lawyer, rose. "Your Honor," he said, his voice steady, "we have evidence that this claim was fabricated. Emails and messages from the plaintiffs themselves show premeditation and intent to deceive." He handed the judge the emails. One line from Claire to Mark made my chest tighten. "He thinks he can just walk away? Let's make him pay." The judge read them silently. His eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me," he asked slowly, "that this entire claim was orchestrated as a form of revenge?" Russell nodded. "That is correct, Your Honor. There is no child. No evidence of pregnancy. No proof of financial obligation." The courtroom went still. Mark's jaw clenched. Claire's hands fidgeted with her rings. Their careful plan, built over months, was crumbling in front of everyone. When I spoke, I didn't shout. I didn't plead. I just told the truth. "I didn't come here to humiliate anyone," I said, voice steady. "I came here because truth matters. I trusted two people with my life, and they chose revenge instead of honesty. This claim isn't about justice. It's about control. And it ends here." I felt Claire's eyes on me for the first time. There was something flickering there: regret, maybe shame, or maybe just the faint recognition of a mistake too late to fix. The judge dismissed the case immediately, calling it malicious and unfounded. Russell leaned over and whispered, "It's over." But for me, it wasn't about winning a case. It was about realizing something far heavier: some people you love can hurt you, and no law or courtroom can erase that. Outside, the air was thick with the heat of summer. Claire and Mark walked past me, shoulders tight, faces pale. Claire whispered, almost too soft to hear, "You could have let it go." I didn't answer immediately. "You could have too," I said finally, quietly but firmly. Months passed. Word spread: small towns always talk. Friends who once celebrated Mark and Claire's union now looked at them differently. Cautious. Disappointed. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I just returned to my life. Painting, working, reconnecting with friends I had ignored. Healing didn't happen overnight. Some days were heavy. Others felt light. Slowly, the weight lifted. I saw Claire again once, at a grocery store. She looked older, worn, tired. Our eyes met briefly, and she whispered, "I'm sorry." I nodded. "Take care of yourself," I said. And I walked away. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not from hatred or anger, but from the pull of people who had tried to define my life. I had lost them both, but in losing them, I found something more important: myself. Now, when I pass that cafe where it all began, I feel neither bitterness nor sadness. Just distance, and a quiet knowledge that betrayal sometimes frees you rather than destroys you. Because the truth, even when delayed, even when painful, always carries its own justice.